You won't learn! You don't won't learn!
What's going on, Tar Heel Nation? It is your favorite North Carolinian, Russ the Tar Heel. And in this huddle, we got kind of a new little segment that I'm going to try to do as often as I can. Obviously, it's time consuming and everything. But I've been kind of going back and forth on the fair use and all that kind of stuff. But I think that if I add enough commentary to it, basically my views on what's being said, I think that it'll be okay, man. We'll see. This is kind of a off-the-cuff thing, man. We'll see how YouTube treats it. But basically what I want to do is I want to do a new segment to where basically we're just listening to Coach Brown and Coach Hubert Davis's press conferences, and we're just talking about them. And, I think that it would be a really interesting topic and kind of insight as much as we can delve into what's happening on the inside of the program. So I hope that you guys like this new segment. Like I said, I'm going to try to do it as often as possible, but with Mack Brown and Ted Monachino and Jeff Collins having their press conferences yesterday, I thought that it would be a good idea to sit here, listen to them, and kind of dissect what Russ the Tar Heel thinks from my own personal perspective. So I'm not going to put it on the screen just because, like I said, I really don't know exactly where that gray area, is going to line up as far as the fair use is concerned. But we are going to listen to the interview, and I'm going to pause and stop it when I think that it's something that's worth discussing. So this is kind of off the cuff. We'll see how it goes, man.
Ready? Got it? Welcome, everybody. It's really interesting that it's been 5 years since I stood here about this time, and had some time to reflect on the last 5 years since the bowl game, and we've accomplished a lot. And I'm really proud of the staff, and I'm proud of the coaches. And after one game, I should never be held accountable for what I say after a game, especially when we lose, because I'm mad and say stupid stuff. But after one game, I said 8 and 9's been pretty good around here, and it has. It's not our expectation. It's the expectation of a lot of places. But starting 9 and 1, we need to finish better. Starting 6 and 0 and 10th in the country, that's what we wanted. We need to finish better. So we've got to uncover every little stone and
That's an interesting way to start out the press conference by Coach Mack Brown. I mean, if we're being honest with each other, because there was a big deal made about him alluding to, hey, 8-9 wins is good around here. And it almost seems like what he's trying to insinuate is that was taken out of context. Now, the way that I took it when he was saying it was like, hey, you guys should be happy that we've won 8 or 9 games because that's pretty good around here. And we had already talked about this in the past. While that is to a certain extent true, the issue is how you got to 8-9 wins. And then Coach Mack Brown ends up talking about that, saying, hey, we got to finish better. And, going 0-4 against Power 5 teams in the last 3 seasons, that is the issue. And that's what Tar Heel Nation is so frustrated about. You start number 10 in the country, you lose to Virginia Tech, you end up finishing below 500 in Sam Howell's last season. Then you start off 9-1, with Drizzy in his first year, and then you just kind of drop the ball as the season goes down. And not only do you finish 9-5, but you lose the bowl game, and then the same thing happens the next year. You're 6-0, number 10 in the country, and everybody's on cloud 9 talking about possible CFP, and then you lose to Virginia, you lose to Georgia Tech, you scrape by Duke after eventually handling Campbell, and then you get beat down the stretch and don't even show up against State, and then you get obliterated in the bowl game. And one of the things that I'm frustrated about, Russ the Tar Heel, as far as the football team is concerned, is just the passion, man. I felt like when Matt first got here, that was not an issue. They were playing passionate. When they went 7-6, bro, in Sammy's first year, great year. Everybody was playing stinking hard. They were giving it their all. And it just feels like that kind of, hasn't necessarily been the case as of late. That's just my own personal perception. And then at the same time, you also got to talk about the fact that it's been 3 years, man. When are we going to get this fixed, Coach? That's what Tar Heel Nation wants to know. Because we have bought in. We've bought in hook, line, and sinker, man. But at the same time, 8-9 wins is good, but it does depend on how you get there. And the last 2 seasons, we have squandered major opportunities. So when Coach talks about, hey, that's stuff we got to fix, yeah, that is stuff that we got to fix, Coach. And, it needs to be now rather than later.
Look at everything we're doing to try to figure out how we can get better and how we can finish stronger, because we're starting well, but we got to finish well.
Starting well, but you got to finish better, man.
And everything we're focused on now is doing that and getting everybody aligned. We've had, when you win 3 games one year and 2 games the next year, and then you win 7 the bowl game, everybody's on board. Then you go to the Orange Bowl and everybody's on board. Then you have a bad year, and some people jumped off. And then we've had the good starts and the bad finishes, and we haven't played well at the end of the year. So I thought about the Cowboys last night. They won 12 games and they didn't finish well. So while their fans are mad today, that's fair, and that's just
it is fair
of what you live with.
It's definitely fair.
Because I'm mad too with the way we're finishing. So. Coach Royale made a statement when I first got to Texas. I said, Coach, what do you have to do to win at Texas and win big? Because we were 4-7 the year before we got there. And he said, this place is like a box of BBs, and ours is too. And he said, the BBs have been scattered. And he said, your job is to get the BBs back in the box and get everybody aligned and get everybody headed in the right direction. And that's what we've got to do right now. And you start looking at my 35 years as a head coach, there's been more changes the last 2 years than the first probably 45 years I coached. It's been unbelievable with transfer portal, tampering, NIL.
It's a different landscape, man. No doubt about that.
I mean, you couldn't have imagined 3 years ago these things actually happening and being put in place. We don't even talk about amateurism anymore. We're heading toward an NFL model.
Very much so.
NFL model right now without guidelines. So I look forward to the day that we have guidelines, and that we're more like the NFL, and that there's probably going to be a salary cap, and guys are going to get paid through universities at some point beyond their scholarships, and then they've got to figure out the tampering piece. So there's.
See, Coach is talking about like all the different aspects that go into this new college landscape. How things are going. With NIL, you saw what happened with Diego Pounds. People tampering with your athletes, trying to pull them over to their school, et cetera, et cetera. And he's talked about it a lot. How what he wants to see is. He just wants there to be clear, defined rules. And, he's more privy to this than I am. But just listening to Coach Mack Brown talk over the last 2-3 years, it seems like there's so many gray areas and nothing is like really defined. And, when you're a high moral person, somebody who believes in playing by the rules, you just want to know what the rules are, because if you know the rules, then obviously you can set yourself up to be as successful as possible, as opposed to, those who could care less about the rules and they take advantage of that gray area. I think Coach he's constantly talking about how he just wants to know the rules. And that makes sense. Let's get it clear. Let's get it defined. That way we can do what we need to do with those who are breaking rules. And, it makes for a more fair approach when we're talking about dealing with these student athletes.
There's some things that are out there. The game's still great. The guys that play it are wonderful. careful. They didn't ask for any of this. So when people get mad at players saying, "Oh, they just want money now," they didn't ask for this. We as adults are the ones that put this model forward. So that's not fair for the players. What we all do have to do, though, is understand that now one of the number one things is NIL. It's real. It's here. It's something that we all have to embrace. It's something that
it's here, bro.
Asking our fans to jump on board, whether it's our websites, our grassroots fans, our season ticket holders, our alumni association, all North Carolina fans need to align and get on board, because it's here, it's real, and it's fair. And our guys need to be treated to the same opportunities with NIL like everybody else in the country. This morning we started a Hold the Line Heels for Life membership campaign. And that's to ask everybody out there that's a North Carolina fan to step up and help us. Regardless of how small or how big, we need your help in NIL. Heels for Life's done a great job. They got us started. But
And before he starts to kind of go on that tangent, I'm going to tell you what I feel about that. I'm good right now, babe. I'm gonna tell you what I feel about that, because I have kind of changed my personal perception on this thing, and I'm gonna tell you one of the things that kind of pulled me this way is if you haven't already, man, go check out the Hill Brothers. Nathan from the Hill Brothers put out a little video. I think it's like 12 to 15 minutes long, and he talks about, New Year's resolutions for the Carolina fan. And I think he hit it on the nail. Slam dunk, bro. And it really kind of, made me rethink a couple of things myself as a Tar Heel fan. I know a lot of Tar Heel fans are frustrated. I've seen a lot of people say, when this is happening and this is happening and this has happened, how can you expect the fan base to send in their hard-earned money, pay for tickets, et cetera, et cetera? And there's a part of me that understands that way of thinking. I understand it, okay? I understand why you think that way. But at the same time, okay, you cannot change the fact that you are what you are. And you're a Tar Heel. That's it. And a lot of us have been Tar Heel fans for a long, long time, man. And you can't just jump off of the bandwagon and then jump on the bandwagon when they're good. I mean, that really doesn't make any sense, man. You got to be invested, okay? There's an investment that comes from physically being there. You're going to the games, you're keeping up with the media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then you have a financial investment. You're paying for the tickets. You're paying for merchandise. You have to ask yourself, how much do I care that my team is successful? And am I willing to do even a small part, like Coach is talking about, the small part of, hey, here's $10 here, here's $10 here. I mean, imagine if every Carolina fan who was really invested and really wanted this team to be great, talking about football, basketball, et cetera, said, hey, I can spare $10, man. I can spare $10. Now, a lot of people are going to push back on me for that, like, well, why do I need a stinking, send my money over here? Hey, I understand, bro. That's why I'm asking you to ask yourself, how much do you actually care? Because if you don't really care, at the end of the day, you want, and you're not willing to give anything, well then, just like anything in life, you're not going to get much of a return, period. Or the return that you get is going to be on the backs of other people. But you got to ask yourself, man, how much do I stinking care? How much do I want this team to be successful? And if I have anything to do with it, right, I'm going to do my part as a fan, okay? Because the fans are an integral part of this thing. You have the coaches, the players, all these other different parts. We have really relegated the fan to like some minuscule part where it doesn't matter. No, it matters tremendously, and that's what Coach Brown is talking about. If we want to attract the best in the landscape that we have right now to make this football program successful, you have to ask yourself, Tar Heel Nation, how much does it mean to me? How much do I care? And what am I willing to do, in order to play my small part in making this thing successful? Whether that be going to the games and being loud and proud so that the stinking, the crowd is affecting basketball and football games, buying merchandise, supporting these athletes in the NIL, and then sending some, a couple of bucks here and there, man, so that these guys can, we can incentivize them becoming Tar Heels. I mean, I personally am a member of the Rams Club. Very small donation as of this point right now, just where I'm at. But, it is what it is, and I will attempt to contribute in whatever way that I can, because I do care. I am invested, and I want the basketball and football teams to be successful in whatever needs to happen so that Carolina can be as enticing as a place for young, really good athletes to come. Then, hey, I'm down, man. And that's what I'm saying. You got to ask yourself, are you down? And if you're not, you're not. I understand that completely, man. Just don't expect a large return when you haven't invested anything. That's the key right there, man. You have to make an investment if you want a chance of a return. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Bigger and better fast. And that's what we've got to do moving forward. So the whole Line campaign is one that heals for life, and the administration everybody's talked about. We're asking every Tar Heel fan to secure a membership on the Heels for Life website.
How bad do you want it, man?
And that includes, as we said, Rams Club members, season ticket holders, because fans from all over the country, because every dollar does make a difference. And this opportunity for our fans is a vested interest in our program.
And if you think that Coach Brown is just, talking out the side of his mouth, just look at the Diego Pound situation. That's all you got to do. If you haven't familiarized yourself with that situation, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Whether you really think that it matters that Diego left or not, just look at that situation, and then you try to say that what Coach Brown is saying is not true. I mean, it is what it is, man. This is the landscape that we're in.
It's a way for everybody to help and everybody to be involved. We've got to be more inclusive. We got to be aligned, and we've got to be inclusive, and we've got to have a plan moving forward, and we've got to make that plan work, because this is modern day college football.
Modern day college football, bro.
As we go through it. So, and without a strong collective, we can't compete.
That's huge.
Fans want to, like our expectations are, we want to win more than that 8 or 9. Then we've got to continue to do a great job.
Without a strong collective, we cannot compete the way that our fans want us to, the way that our expectations are. If we want to get above 8 or 9 stinking wins, we have to have a strong collective. Think about that, man.
Through our NIL programs and opportunities for these kids, so we can get better players. It's just bottom line. The overall goal for 2020
He's speaking facts, man.
5,000 members and raise $5 million plus, and that's something that we've got to start with today. And we're off to a good start. I was told from this morning. But we've got to have that in place by next season, and then you've got to continue to have it grow and make it sustainable, because that's what we're hearing from our players on our team. Number one, you've got to be able to get players here. Number two, you've got to be able to retain your roster.
Diego Pounds.
Because people are coming after your players. They're actually calling them and offering them money to leave.
Diego Pounds.
So we've got to be able to have a program that...
Coach ain't lying, man.
We got to have a program in such that they want to stay. And that's very, very important. So, and I strongly believe that we can do this, and I strongly believe that it'll have a massive impact on UNC football and help us get past that 8 and 9 wins that we've kind of hit the wall with.
And there goes your standard right there. I believe that if we can do this, we can retain our roster and we can attract better athletes here, and that will help us break through this 8 or 9 win wall that we've seemed to hit. All right, so there's your standard. Okay, there's your means of overcoming that obstacle right there from Coach Mack Brown.
Because we've been there for years, and with the college football playoffs starting next year, it's a great time for us to take another major step.
Let's go.
And
12
be a
teams.
contender nationally, which is what we expected to do when we came back. And I know our fan base
Expectations.
will react immediately. I know they're going to respond and step up because we've got great fans here, and that's what they do. And when our stadium's full, it's as powerful as any. And when we ask our fans to step up, they do. And we're asking you as fans today to step up and start being involved with NIL, with our collective, with Hills for Life, and make a difference in this program.
Let's go. How much does it mean, Tar Heel Nation?
That are coming in. At one point, you couldn't have anybody come as a January admit, and then all of a sudden you'd get 3 or 4. And that was always tough for them because they didn't have many friends. They didn't have their class with them. Then last year we got 10 or 12. Then we got to 20 because it was 10 transfers and 10 of the high school guys. This year we've got 20 early enrollees. I'll go through them very quickly that are high school guys. Daniel Anderson will play Jack. Aiden Banfield will play offensive line. Khalil Conley will play defensive back. Zion Ferguson will play defensive back. They're all here. Running back Davion Goss will play.
Excited about him.
He'll play running back. Wide receiver Javarius, we call him Vari Green, is here. A lot of these guys came to bowl practice, like Vari and Aiden.
Which is good.
Banfield just came to the game, and some are here for the first time. Offensive lineman Desmond Jackson, tight end Timmy Lawson, who had a knee injury in the fall, will not participate in spring practice, but he'll be here to rehab and learn what to do. Mike Merdinger, quarterback. Janai, it's Jani. So it's Janai. Norwood will play in the offensive line. Defensive back Jaden Patterson. Offensive line Andrew Rosinski, and he actually played center in the All-Star game. He never played center before, and he did really well. Wide receiver Jordan Shipp.
Let's go. Jordan Shipp, bro.
Wide receiver Alex Taylor.
Alex Taylor.
Defensive back
Let's go.
Thompson. Tight end Ryan Ward. Defensive back Ty White. Linebacker Ashton Woods. Defensive back Malcolm Ziegler. All of those guys are in class. They're in school. They'll be here for spring practice. And a lot of those guys got to practice 10 days with us in the
which is outstanding.
Which was really fun.
That's outstanding.
And we actually kept the guys 15 minutes after bowl practice. They practiced with us for the hour and a half, and then we'd keep them 15 minutes afterwards so they'd have extra work. There are 3 preferred walk-ons. Hayes Galloway is an offensive lineman. That's Lonnie's son. Offensive lineman Zach Gluckman.
Coach Galloway's son.
DJ Mazzone. So those guys are here and in school and ready to go. And then we have 6 transfers at this point in school. Running back Darwin Barlow. Transferred from USC.
From Southern Cal.
Offensive line from Georgia, Austin
Blasky. It's a big body, man.
Defensive back Jakeem Harris from NC State.
That still rubs me the wrong way, man.
From Texas A&M and his brother Max Johnson. From
Jake and Max, man, I'm looking forward to that.
Howard Sampson.
And then the kid from North Texas.
Is transferring in from North Texas.
Yep.
And Coach Clements actually coached him at North Texas, and really excited about him. He's about 6'8", 320 or something. He's a real presence.
Big kid.
Offensive line. So those guys are all in school. They're doing well. So that's 3 preferred walk-ons and 6 transfers. And then unusual for us, but we have 1 junior college transfer, and his name is Tyran Stewart. He's a defensive back. He was from a really small high school.
Need the DBs, man.
And his team wasn't very good. They didn't get a lot of coverage, so he actually went to junior college as a qualifier and had like a 3.4 grade point average. So he's transferring in, he's here, and he'll be ready to start spring practice soon. This is the highest ranked group of high school guys that we've ever signed academically. We're really, really proud of them. Just about all these guys are over a 3.0.
That's great.
We're excited about this class, and it changes when you think about there's 27, 28 of these guys that are new. That's a huge part of your 85. So it changes your team every year. And that's what's so different than in our past. You might bring in 25, now you're bringing in a lot more than that to look at it. We're still looking at offensive line in the portal, and we're still looking at defensive line in the portal.
There we go. Trenches. Need bodies in the trenches, bro. We saw that last year.
26, 27 transfers along with 3 preferred walk-ons. So you got 30 new guys that'll be here for spring practice, which is pretty amazing when you start looking at change. And then you'll have more come in June. I think there's 6 or 7 more maybe. Plus, as I said, we'd like to have another defensive lineman, another offensive lineman from the transfer portal.
Let's go.
Anybody else that you bring in the portal, they would be a junior enrollee, right?
Yes. We have already started.
Yeah, so he starts to talk about
For us to add somebody to school.
You can't-
right now, we can sign them
exactly. Yeah, you can sign them right now.
because they.
You can sign them right now, but they wouldn't be able to enroll into school necessarily. They'd have to be I guess it would come in the summer, a summer enrollee. So everybody is signed right now. These guys that they're looking for in the transfer portal, they would, if they were to sign with Carolina, then they wouldn't be able to come in until I think June.
They have been, if they were in the portal, we can still sign them. We had some guys in this weekend, but they can't come until their school's out. So
Right.
It's just like the high school guys coming to bowl practice. They have to get an email from their school, from their university that says you've either finished the semester or you're a grad, so you can transfer, and then they can come that day. They can come the next day, and they can actually come here and eat, work out, get their equipment and all that stuff before they enroll in school. That's a change with the NCAA as well. And then most of them end up spending the second semester with us because they're too late to get in the first semester.
So are they taking classes at their previous school, or are they just not taking classes?
They're in their previous school.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yes, and that's why they have to stay the semester, or they would have come in January.
So that's very player friendly.
Yes, very, very much so.
So they can still take classes at their old school while they're awaiting to be able to come to Carolina, which is good.
What we will do at some point, Jeremy, will have them available for you, the ones you haven't already talked to, whether you'll have a time for the high school guys, and you'll have a time for the transfers and the grad transfers. And Pat's going to start sending out video of the transfers for sure. And then he'll have that available on the day that you talk to them, if you would like to do that. Any other questions before I go to our next part of the agenda?
Just to clarify real quick, of the early enrollees, did you say that this team Lawson had any injury?
Yes. Jeremy, is that the only one that will not be involved in spring practice?
They got it back here, yes.
Yes. Everybody else will be involved in spring on this list, other than Timmy. And he can probably run some because he got hurt early in the fall, and he's got full bend in his knee right now. But he will probably not be in contact, I wouldn't think.
To clarify on him, wasn't the original plan he wasn't going to enroll early because he's a baseball player, but because of the injury he wants to rehab here
Yes.
instead of rehabbing back home?
Yes.
Okay.
He is.
Which is good.
Potential pro baseball player.
Yeah, that's really good because if you get injured, you can either play you can't play anyway because you're injured, right? So why not come to college, go ahead and start your rehab process. You can be around in a college atmosphere where you can get your rehab in and then hopefully be ready for fall so that you can contribute to the football team, and then you'll be ready next spring for baseball season. So that's good, man. It's good that he's able to come in and get some work in.
Play with our baseball team here. cannot this spring because of his knee. He would have stayed and played with his baseball team through the spring if he had been healthy enough. Since he got hurt, his family thought it would be better for him to come here, rehab, learn.
Makes perfect sense.
And be more ready for the fall.
Makes perfect sense.
And usually those are 9 to 12 months, so he'll be close probably to fall.
Mack, the last couple of years, you've lost more transfers than you brought in. Have you changed your strategy about how to even up that number with JUCOs and other stuff like that?
No, we've kept the philosophy, if a young guy's unhappy because he's not playing enough, then we will help him
Yeah, man.
get somewhere else. And
We want guys that want to be here, bro.
coaches have done an unbelievable job of
And
helping
if
place guys.
if you're not cutting the mustard, man, no disrespect. I like how they're like, hey, we'll help you go somewhere where you may be able to play. It's great.
Still trying to do it with high school guys, and then
Because you still want to treat people with respect and dignity.
in a few positions. But I mean, a lot of people aren't signing any high school guys anymore. They just absolutely are going portal completely, and it's going to change the dynamics of teams. All my teammates are buddies of mine now. If you got guys that are you're changing 30 or 40 guys every year, you're not going to know who your teammates were, and you're not going to grow up with them. So we're trying to keep it as much like it has been in the past as we can, and still compete at the highest level.
Yeah.
Anything
Yeah,
else?
man.
Okay, we've been really good on that.
And that's an interesting component, if you think about it, is the fact that, you know, when we were growing up, you were with the same guys, man. You couldn't change teams. I mean, you might, even in a high school perspective, you know, you might go over here, but you're in the same community, the same stinking place. You're gonna see these guys. You're gonna play these guys, you know. But most of the time, when you go to a high school, that's where you're at, and you either play or you don't play. But you grow up with everybody that's on the roster because you're there with them sometimes. Guys in your class, if you're a freshman, you're gonna be with that, 25, 30 other kids for the next 4 years of your life playing football. And it was kind of like that in college as well. You know, every once in a while people would transfer. They have to sit out a year, et cetera, et cetera. But now, man, people are just like, hey, the grass is greener on the other side. I'm leaving. And then you have to go and, you're linking up with people that you don't even know. And then, you're there for a year or two, and now you're transferred somewhere else, and it's just, you're kind of losing some of that camaraderie, some of that us versus them mentality. I mean, good night. You got people from NC State transferring to Carolina now. So, I mean, what is the world coming to?
Offense for the last 5 years. We've been inconsistent on defense. And
Yes, we have, Coach.
We've been inconsistent on defense since 2008. We just haven't been consistently good. I love Gene Chiswick and Tim Cross. They're two of my great friends. They're two of the nicest people. They have tremendous faith. They're great fathers. They're great husbands. Gene Chiswick was involved with North Carolina football for 4 seasons. He had an 11-win season, a 9-win season, and 2 8-win seasons. So we all
11 wins, 9 wins, and 2 8-win seasons. Now, obviously, a lot of that has to do with Gene Chiswick had some great offenses. A lot of people like to talk about Coach Mack. The outsiders, they'll be like, Vince Young did this for Coach Mack. And then you have, Cam Newton did this for Gene Chiswick. He's the only reason that he's got a national championship. 11 wins, 9 wins, and 2 8-win seasons. Well, think about who his quarterbacks were. Marquise Williams. You have, Sam Howell and Drake May? Or Drake May the last two seasons, man. So, it's Marquise. It was Marquise and Mitch Trubisky. And then you have, Drizzy for 2 seasons. So, I mean, he's been the defense on some teams with, one guy who played in the Canadian League, another guy who was the 2nd overall pick in the NFL draft, and then Drake May, who knows where he's going to be selected. Top 5 for sure. So, yes, were you a part of some successful teams? Yeah, But let's also put it in perspective. And look, I have the utmost respect for Gene Chizik as a man. You were complimented greatly by the type of offenses that were on the other side of the football. Let's just be honest.
Because he's done some great things here. One of the best seasons we've ever had. He was involved with as our defensive coordinator. Tim Cross.
That was a good year, man. 2015 was a great year.
And sitting down with Gene specifically, we both decided that it was best to just move in a different direction. And he totally.
Sometimes that's the best thing you got to do, man.
These are good people. I think when people want this guy fired or want that guy fired, they forget they're human beings. We're not playing with video games here.
And see, this is where I disagree with Coach Brown a little bit, man, because, you know, is there a human aspect to this? Of course. Do we want, you know, people to get fired so you can just kind of stick it to them? No, that has nothing to do with why we as fans are saying, hey, bro, it's not working, we need to make a change. It has nothing to do with that at all. As a fan of a football team, okay, I wanted nothing more than for Gene Chizik and Tim Cross to succeed. Why would I possibly want them to fail? I don't want that at all. There's no doubt in my mind that they're good people. A lot of the players have the utmost respect for these guys. That's irrelevant. That is irrelevant. In the course of what you are paid to do, don't do your job well, okay? Then you're gonna get let go eventually. Eventually, it's gonna catch up to you. So nothing is. Oh well, you know, we just don't like Gene Chizik. I don't want him to have a job, and I don't want him to be able to provide for his family. Not even close. It's just you're not doing a good enough job in order to justify retaining you for another year. So it's sad that you lost your job. But at the end of the day, as a North Carolina college football fan, okay, that is very low on my priority list. What I want is a defensive coordinator that is going to help us win football games. So, you know, this play on the emotion of these are human beings and they're people and they have families to support, no doubt, man, no doubt, okay? But you have to be good at what you do, especially when you're getting paid an exorbitant amount of money. You got to put up, man. And there's really no reason why a place like the University of North Carolina, with the athletes that we've recruited over the course of the last 5 days, or 5 years, excuse me, has not been better than it has been. So, you know, the whole, these are husbands and fathers and, you know, men of great faith. And hey, no doubt, bro, respect. I love it. I wish that you were successful, but you weren't. And so it is what it is.
But we're in a production business.
That's right.
And we understand that as we're going through with it. So when you start looking at, we had the entire defensive staff interviewing coaches. And when we started looking at what we wanted somebody that's going to be aggressive, somebody that's going to be simple, somebody that's going to create havoc, somebody that's going to force tackles for loss.
Let's go.
To,
aggressiveness.
Get sacks.
Let's be chaotic.
So we looked at probably 5 people.
No pun intended. Let's stop playing on our heels.
That we interviewed. And the one that kept popping up to all of us was Jeff Collins. Experienced as a defensive coordinator at a lot of different places, but specifically did a great job at Mississippi State and at Florida.
Yes, he did.
Coach at Temple and Georgia Tech, so he gets it. A tremendous recruiter, very passionate. You start
That's
looking
what I've heard.
at what Jeff has done. 27-year coaching veteran, 6 years as a head coach, 11 years as a defensive coordinator, top-notch recruiter. Produced more than 36 NFL players. Why do you hire him? You look at his record as a defensive coordinator, and it's as good as anybody in the country. And he's doing exactly what we want. He's fiery. He's got an aggressive style, and he attacks.
And he attacks,
That's
man.
very, very important to us.
Yes.
We were
Let's
so
stink and
lucky
go
that
get 'em.
Coach Chiswick brought in Ted Monachino, that he couldn't coach on the field, but we were able to watch him all year.
That's what we want, bro. We want him to go get 'em.
Then you've got a 33-year veteran, and he's coached at all levels, 16 years in the NFL, great track record with the defensive line and pass rushers, Terrell Suggs, Khalil Mack.
My man, Coach Terrell Suggs. If you don't listen to what, bro, if you don't listen to this guy, you're out of your mind.
Defensive coordinator in the NFL. We're so lucky to have both of these guys. But with Ted, he was familiar with our team. His family's familiar with our team. The players all know him, and they're very, very excited about him moving forward. And he was involved with a lot of the recruiting in the transition period. So I'm very excited about both of these guys leading our defense moving forward.
Let's go.
Questions before I get
Let's
to
stink and go, bro.
A lot with Coach Collins. How much of that is just you just need to have a change of personality, persona, approach, culture on defense?
I think when you don't want to go back and talk about what wasn't good. That's not fair. Those guys aren't here to defend themselves. But what you want to do is talk about what you'd like to do moving forward. And I've coached against Jeff. I know what he does.
And see right there, the question was posited. You know, is it a change in? It's basically, is it a change in culture? Is it a change in philosophy? Is it a change in? And you know, Mack Brown plays the. He does what a good politician would do. You know, I'm not going to directly answer that, okay, because I don't want to offend this side. All right, but what I am going to do is we're going to focus on what we want to do in the present. And you know what? I understand it. But you know what? I'm not Coach Mack Brown. And the simple fact of the matter is what he is insinuating underneath all these layers is yes. Okay? It's got to be a stinking change in culture and what we do, because we can't just allow people to just cram it down our throat. You know, we have got to start, you know, like he talked about earlier in that statement, we've got to be more chaotic. You know, we need to be in the backfield. We need to be causing a little bit of havoc as opposed to catching blockers, you know, sitting back and hoping that people are making mistakes. So he doesn't want to put anything out there, blast. And you know what? I understand, because you don't want to burn these bridges. It is the right way to say things as the head coach, okay? But for us who are not head coaches and we can kind of sift through and understand what the underlying theme is, it's easy to understand that, hey, we needed a culture change here, and that's where we're at right now. So that's what I got out of that, you know, kind of sidestepping the question. You know, that's what I think he's trying to allude to.
It makes it very, very difficult for offensive football.
And y'all remember, man, you know, when Georgia Tech beat us in Chapel Hill 2 years ago, when we were 9-1, and that was the downfall, the starting down. I mean, what did we score? 17 points. And yes, you know, we had a drop pass in the end zone that could have won us that football game. But, you know, Jeff Collins, he's thinking dialed it up, bro. And he wasn't calling the plays. That is an important factor here. But that defense stymied our really good offense. And
it was interesting. We had 6 hours with him on Zoom 2 different times. The entire staff and like Ted, for instance, was sitting there in the first 10 minutes. We had some of the guys were in person, and Jeff was on Zoom. And I told the coaches that's going to be hard for him to live up to on the Zoom. He's not going to be able to have the video like you want. He's not going to be able to be as personal with you as the guys are in person. He can't get on a grease board. So let's give him a break here. This is going to be tougher. In the first 10 minutes, Jeff had everybody eating out of his hands, and Ted texted me and said, wow, impressive. So all the coaches are all in.
It's good.
They're in.
Let's go.
They came to me and said, this guy's exactly what we need.
Let's go.
And he also met with the players the other night. When they got back, I had him him speak to the entire team, which he's used to because he's been a head coach. But then he stayed with the defense, and they were bouncing off the walls coming out. So his energy's so good, his confidence.
That's what I want to hear, man. Saying the right things.
You just look at where they've been. All the guys want to go where these two guys have been, and that gets their attention immediately.
Mac, I hear you on the not wanting to speak ill of people who can't defend themselves. But I guess one, sort of overarching question I think would be, this will be your third defensive coordinator now since you've been back. Why do you think, just maybe in a broader sense, the first two didn't work out, and why do you think this one will work out?
We weren't very good on defense when we got here.
Legitimate question.
And a lot of the offensive players have been drafted. So we continue to get better defensive players. Jay Bateman just got the defensive coordinator job at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just the circumstances.
Coaching with Mike Elko now.
These jobs are hard now. You start looking at, I think there were 37 defensive coordinators fired this year.
Wow.
Hard to play defense.
37.
Hard to play defense. I'm sitting there interviewing some defensive coordinators that given up more points than we did. And they're highly recommended. We would have all loved them, I think. They didn't stop him, mate. So it's hard. Defense is hard. All the rules have made it for the offense. And it's harder to play safety. It's harder to play corner. They spread you out so much.
It's true.
It's harder with tempo because they go so fast. It's harder to get calls in. So there's a lot of stuff right now that's hard for defenses, and that's why I wanted a lot of experience.
Yeah, it's stacked against them, man. Hard to play safety. You can't even hit anybody anymore.
Nothing but sitting in his man cave studying football. He said his wife's wearing him out with, "What are you doing down there?" He said he was looking at. And the other thing that's very impressive.
Hey, what kind of life is that, bro? How cool of a life? I don't know. That sounds like paradise for me. Stinking down in my man cave studying college football for a year and a half. Oh, I could do that all stinking day, bro. One day, fam. I'll never be a coach, but that sounds pretty good, dude. Just watching college football all day.
Is he broke down all of our games.
Right, saw that.
And he when he was on the Zoom, he was saying, here in the bowl game, he said, I'm not being critical of anybody, but this 17 looked good. He did this right. 23 did this right. But 21, Caleb Cost came on a blitz in the end zone, and he said that's a sack fumble and maybe a touchdown or a safety, but you come at the wrong angle and he gets out, makes a 16-yard run, gets first down, at least points at the other end, so it's a 14-point swing. So that showed us that he cared about us. He knew all the coaches by name. He was calling the players by name and going through what he thought we did well and what we struggled with during the season. And all of us
fix it.
sitting there saying, you're exactly right.
Let's fix it.
It wasn't he said, she said, be critical of. It was those are things we got to get fixed.
Was a nice additive the fact that you guys recruit Atlanta very hard and he's very well connected down there?
Yes. And our players, he recruited a lot of our players. So, and Nate McCullum was all over it. He was his number one guy as he was pushing forward to it. So, but Jeff turned down about 8 defense coordinator job over the year.
Wow.
He laid out a year and a half, and he's already had 2 calls since he's been here.
Which is, once again, bro,
So he's
they're calling coaches, man.
one of the best out there.
He just took the job.
And I'm even more excited about him after being around him for 2 or 3 weeks than I was before.
That's super interesting.
If you had told any of us a year ago that we could get Ted Monino and Jeff Collins on the same staff with our defense, everybody'd call us a liar. So we're really, really lucky to have both of them.
Hey, man, let's go to work, man.
And I'm so excited about getting our defense turned around.
Amen, Coach. Amen.
The relationships with players, things like that. When the defensive line position opened up, when did it kind of click that, you would want to kind of keep it in-house with Ted rather than, bring, I don't know what's the right way to say it, but, what kind of went into the decision just kind of keep it in-house?
Very honestly, Ted's got so many opportunities to go back to the NFL. I didn't know whether he would stay or not. And he's such a good person, and he loves these kids, and he knows how close we are. That's the thing that all of our fans and our coaches, I'm so excited because we're so close. We gotta take another step. And we haven't for 2 years, and we've been close to that for 2 years. But these two guys help you take that step. And I'm so pumped about both of them.
Let's go then, man.
Ted would say, I love these kids. I know how close we are. I want to be a difference maker. It excites me because he doesn't have to be. And I didn't make a decision based on Ted. That would be totally unfair because I didn't think he'd be here. And then after we made our decision and sat down with Ted, he said, sure, I'll do this. And I thought, really? So I'm excited.
Right, man. You thought it'd be 1 year.
Get him right, coach. Get him right, coach.
I asked you about Clyde in November. Didn't ask about Ted because I didn't think he was coming back.
No, me neither. Me neither. Never even thought about it. So that's why I'm so excited.
Clyde's still around?
Yes. Clyde actually coached Brad Johnson at Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
So that's one of the reasons I think that the Johnsons came. Another reason is we're all good friends with Mark Rick. And they trust our program and our culture and what we're doing moving forward. But Clyde's excited about what he can do to help Max and Jake moving forward. I'm really hoping in February that the NCAA will allow the analysts and QCs to coach, and it just makes so much sense, and that would help Clyde because he could actually be on the field coaching and let Chip move around a little bit more. So that would help us too.
Is it a waste of energy to be optimistic about that?
I'm sorry?
Is it a waste of energy to be optimistic about that?
I'm afraid so. I'm not hearing much about it, and I thought we would. I thought it was a no-brainer. We thought we were going to have it last February, and it's not. There's so much talk about NIL and what we've got to do. I think it's kind of gone underground a little bit.
It should make it easier, actually.
It'd make it a whole lot easier.
I just want to go back to something you said at the beginning. You talked about reflecting on the 5 years here. You know, we just saw Nick Saban retire, but to me it sounds like you kind of have like a plan for the future here with that your NIL plan and hiring new coaches. I mean, what does the future look like for you here?
I think Jim Harbaugh handles you guys better than anybody. He said, I'm glad I got a future. And that's all he said, and everybody lets it go, so I can't figure that out. But I'm excited about spring practice. I'm excited about these two guys coming in. The players are all pumped. Again, we're so close. We're talking about an empty stadium and 2 wins 5 years ago. And now we're talking about griping at 8 and 9 and an Orange Bowl and a Coastal Championship. So we're close, man.
There we go, the griping again, yeah.
And it's my job to figure out what that means.
Yes, it is, coach.
Have the fans to get totally on board, get aligned, help us with NIL so that doesn't get us kicked back. Our recruiting hadn't been as good the last 2 years since NIL came in. We need to be as good at NIL as anybody in the country.
Hey, that's another direct correlation, man. You know, and you can't argue with the numbers. You can't argue with the numbers. I mean, I guess you could posit the idea that because of the way that Carolina has finished the last 2 seasons, that could obviously have a direct correlation to, you know, the recruiting, you know, numbers going down a little bit. But you could also show a direct correlation to when NIL became a big thing. You know, Carolina is a little bit farther down the depth chart as far as being able to compensate these players, you know, the best of the best. So, you know, there's your correlation. And what he's saying is, hey, we need the funds so that we can compensate these guys because a lot of them may want to come. I want to play at North Carolina, but, you know, these guys over here are offering me X amount of money, and I just can't legitimately turn that down. So, interesting way to look at things, man, that maybe a whole bunch of fans haven't necessarily looked at. And that's why this is so important that we kind of hash out these things so that we have, one, you know, realistic expectations based off of the facts and understanding what we as a fan base can do in order to help facilitate North Carolina becoming the program that we want it to be. Once again, bro, if you don't make an investment with your time, money, et cetera, then how much can you really say or gripe and complain about not getting a return? You didn't make an investment, man, And so that's something that every Tar Heel fan's got to look into, bro. You got to look in, like, how much do you care? We've already talked about it.
And we've got fans that can do that, but we've got to be passionate about it. And that's just something we're asking. Buy the season tickets, get in those seats. We're so close. We're closer than we've ever been. Let's take another step, but we got to do it together. We've got to do it.
We got to do it together, man.
Heels for Life's on board. Our coaches are all on board. Now we got to get our fans to be totally on board.
Mack, one of the criticisms that people keep using the last couple of years at the end of the year is sort of a catch-all word, but culture. Do you think there's some sort of a culture issue that has affected you guys here? I don't know if that's the word soft. That's come up before.
Yeah.
What is your response when you hear people say, the culture's not right?
I think they aren't involved in our program. They don't see it day to day, and they don't know what they're talking about. I'm like them. I'm looking for every little thing too. I just don't make up words. I got to find facts, and that's what I'm doing. Every little thing. That's what Jeff's here for. That's what Ted's here for. We're looking at our off-season program. We're looking at everything in nutrition. I think another thing that really hit all of us with Jeff was talking about we got to play more players. I think we wear out at the end of the year. You can't play two linebackers. They're as good as Seth Gray and Power are. They played 900 plays. They're worn out. And we've played a tougher end of the schedule than we have the beginning of the schedule. So part of it's who you play. But I do think we need to play. We didn't play many corners, but we had people hurt. We had people out. 2 years ago, we got all the defensive linemen hurt, so that was tougher. But we are going to be simpler on defense, and we're going to play a lot of players. And those were two things that just.
So the question is, what's this? People keep talking about the culture, and I don't know if the right word would be soft. Well, I'm here to tell you right now, as a Carolina fan, that I'm not going to mince words. The defense has been soft. Period. The defense has been soft, man, and that's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. And I'll tell you why I think that they've been soft. You don't see a lot of big hits from this North Carolina defense, man. And a lot of it is because you don't see a lot of guys coming downhill filling holes. One guy that we would see do that occasionally was Stick. Stick would come downhill. He's a little dude, but he's going to give you all 180, 185 of him, which, hey, respect, bro. So he's coming to fill the hole, and he will pop you. Said would pop you every once in a while, but Power, when Power gets free, he's an athlete, bro. Power can stick you when he squares you up. But you just don't see that mentality from the Carolina defense, man. Even the defensive tackles getting just manhandled down the field. There is a soft component to that defense. All right, so to say that we don't know what we're talking about, my eyes are not fooling me. I've been watching it for a couple of years now, and I watch other defenses, and I watch the way that they play with the physicality that they have, and you can tell who's soft and who's not soft. So do I hate the fact that that term has been attributed to us, both from Carolina fans and the enemy? Yeah, sure, I do. But the facts are the facts, Coach. There needs to be a mentality shift here, man. There needs to be people playing, with a little bit more violent intentions, a little bit more aggressive physical nature, especially on that side of the football. So, Coach says that, fans that say that don't know what they're talking about. I personally think that all you have to do is watch a couple of Carolina defensive plays, and it sticks out like a sore thumb. It sticks out like a sore thumb.
Jumped out at us with Jeff that we talk about every day in staff meetings. We haven't done a very good job of. But when he started talking, I said, yes, yes, yes. I like all of that. So, but Brian Hess does a great job. He's got a tremendous staff. Those guys work really, really hard. We're going to go back and do more of the county fair grass drills that we were doing the first 2 years we were here. Then we got away from some in COVID because they left. So we're going to go back and change up our off-season program some. We're going to move spring practice back.
Because you got to get more physical, man.
The off-season program.
You got to hit.
But we are looking at every little thing, and we're grading every little thing.
I'll tell you a problem when you go into the NC State game and you say after you get manhandled, we didn't hit last week. Like, what in the world, man? Good night. That's an issue. That's an issue because that is the same thing that breeds, that soft mentality. You didn't hit for a whole week of practice. You didn't have like Wednesdays. Wednesdays, y'all didn't even have thud. I mean, come on, man.
To make sure that whatever it is that we're missing at the end of the year, we're going to take care of it and make sure that we don't do it again. But it's not culture. No, I don't know what. I'd like for somebody to define culture that's not in a football program.
Culture. I mean, what he said, I'd like for somebody to define culture that's not in a football program. You can have all different kinds of culture. You can have a soft culture. You can have a just ridiculous. I'll tell you what. Here's a perfect case scenario. Who was it, man? I was listening to some guy. I think he was after Nick Saban left. I can't remember who it was to save my stinking life, man. But he was talking about how at Alabama, it was nothing for him to walk into the weight room at Bama and see a football player, helmet, shoulder pads, all his pads on, bro, cleats, everything, in there doing power lifts and stuff, working out in full stinking battle rattle, as we call it in the military, dude. That's a culture thing, okay? That is people that are going above and beyond because it's part of their culture, right? That is a perfect indicator of a culture that permeates a program. And all you have to do is look at the success of Alabama. Yes, they have great athletes, but those great athletes, Saban is able to get everything out of them. I mean, just maximize their potential. That is a culture thing. Whereas North Carolina also had some really good recruiting classes, 10th, 11th, and we have had 5 stars and high 4 stars end up being duds. And you cannot tell me that is because every one of those athletes just didn't turn out to be a very good football player. No, it's because of the culture. When you allow mediocrity and softness to permeate your football program, guess what? You're going to be able to see it on the field. All right? And so when you say define culture for me, there's all different types of culture. And you can have good culture and bad culture, right? And when your culture in football lacks physicality, that is a bad culture. You can't tell me that you watch Carolina's defense and you watch Alabama's defense and you don't see a culture difference. Come on, Coach.
It's an easy word to say. It'd be really hard to define. I know what it is, but I don't think the ones that are questioning it probably do.
From the first, I think, year.
I love you, but come on, Coach.
Recruiting guys, telling them what your NAL program is, and they kept saying, how much money do I get? How much money do I get? And you can do everything that you want. I know, being a Carolina guy myself, and knowing you for so long, I know you're not going to cross the line. But doesn't it have to change on the other side, too, in terms of what's being done that is obviously not the way it's supposed to be done?
Yes, there's a lot of changes that may need to come. We're going to go by the rules. But that's why we need all Carolina guys like you to jump up and start donating to NIL. I'm going to check that this afternoon, see what you've thrown in there, because I know it's a big check.
Yeah, but my point is that
He changed the subject, didn't he? That was good.
I'm in. Fight.
I'm in.
Whatever million you want. I mean, it's not the way it's applied is not the same because people are offering money.
Yeah, let me explain. I'll try to explain this quickly because I know when Jeremy stands, that means get down, Mack. You've been up there too long.
It's been a long interview.
If you're recruiting the right players and they know that there's going to be opportunities after they get here, then they're still going to come. Legally, the ones we want.
Guys that want to be here.
If they aren't going to be in a position where NIL takes proper care of them after they get here, then they're not going to come. And that's what you deal with. The other thing is you've got to have your locker room where it's fair. Because they all talk. You tell them not to talk, every one of them talk. And some of them don't even tell the truth. They say it's a number, it's not. So I want transparency with NIL. I'd love for everybody that gets a penny to have it public, so we all know exactly what it is.
But you have to do that with the coaches.
Something to be done.
So it makes sense you do that with the athletes too.
Because it's a mess, and now that agents are involved, it's going to be hard to catch anybody. But it's real, and it's there, and it's happening. But you can't pay a guy in the transfer portal if you're not paying your guys in the locker room. So what we've got to do is have a process in place like the NFL where a starter makes so much money and a backup would make this much and this position might make more than that. Everybody would understand that Drake would make more than some of our other players because of who he is. They understand that. But if some other school's making 3 times as much as your guys, and they all know that because they all talk, then they're not going to come. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to make sure that our guys on campus are being taken care of with NIL opportunities at the highest level, and then players will still come.
Hey, man.
So you don't think that
It's facts.
Charlie Baker, whoever it is going to try and stop what is really not in the spirit of the NIL? I mean, it doesn't matter what you do, and people are still offering money up front.
Yeah, that's not what I said at all. I don't know what the NCAA would like for us all to go by the rules. I'm sure that's their job. What they can do about it, I don't know. A lot of smart people have a lot of work to do to get this thing straightened out because it is a mess. There's a lot of great things for NIL. And like I said, it's not the kids' fault. And there's a lot of great things. It's helping kids that need the money, helping kids learn to do charity, helping kids learn to pay taxes. There's a lot of positive things, helping Tylee with his to offset the cost with some of his cancer treatments.
That's a positive thing, man. That's a positive thing.
They're trying to help table with charity with underprivileged kids in Orange County to eat. Habitat of Humanities. There's so many things that are better because of NIL. We just need to get some guidelines. And that's what you're saying, Art. And right now, people say, I even have people around me say, well, there are no rules. No, there's rules. We just got to figure out how to make sure that if someone's not going by those rules, then we can find them. And rules are going to be broken as long as there aren't consequences. There have to be consequences, and you have to be able to catch somebody. When they start firing coaches, then they're going to quit cheating. Until they do that, it's going to be hard to corral. Anything else? All right. When you've got a nickname, that means that you've done something pretty good. I present to you the Minister of Mayhem. So come on, Jeffrey.
Hey, that's a heck of a way to end the press conference, though. He introduces Jeff Collins by his nickname. I present to you the Minister of Mayhem. So that's thinking pretty cool, man. But Hey, a long interview, man. Obviously, it's going to be a longer video. This is one where if you're out there doing yard work or something like that, or you have one of those jobs where you can put your earbuds in and you can kind of hang out and you just, for whatever reason, give two rips about what Russ the Tar Heel thinks about this stuff, man. But I enjoyed it. There are things that I agree with, and there are things that obviously I think, Coach is not giving us enough credit in our ability to trust our eyes, if you will. So let me know what you think down in the comment section, Tar Heel Nation, about what Coach Brown is talking about, NIL, Jeff Collins, and Ted Monachino being hired on as the defensive coordinator and the defensive line coach. What are your personal perceptions? Because I think this is a hot topic, man. What are your personal perceptions on Coach Mack Brown saying, hey, listen, Tar Heel Nation, we need you to donate money? I mean, what do you think about that? I'm genuinely interested in what the diehards think about that call. And then also, take it with a grain of salt in that you got to couple it with the facts that he's telling you about. The anecdotal evidence of, hey, we've watched other teams come and try to poach our players with money. And so the only way to combat that is if we have the funds to be able to not only get the players to come here, but to retain the players that we have on the roster. So I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did, man. Like I said, like, share, subscribe, comment down in the comment section what you think about Coach Mack Brown's press conference. And love you, Tar Heel Nation. We'll catch you on the next one, baby.